Many can form an alliance, but what happened with the disturbing alliance of kickboxer Mohammed Jaraya and the MocroMaffia? What happens when someone has a lot of potential, but chooses a life of crime instead of fulfilling that potential? Unfortunately, the life of Muhammad Jarrah has become a teaching tool for a great number of people, both within and beyond his sphere of influence. Even though he was still quite young, he had already accomplished a great deal of his goals and was well on his way to being the next big thing in the world of kickboxing. However, the enormous expectations appear to have been dashed due to his involvement in dubious activities, as well as a number of bans and accusations. What was it that eventually put the horse out of its misery? Is this the final stage of his game? What exactly is this disturbing alliance of kickboxer Mohammed Jarrah and the MocroMaffia? Let's take a quick look into his background to have a better understanding of who precisely he is before delving further into what appears to be the final chapter of the all-time young champion's story. The Moroccan kickboxing champion, who is now 26 years old and was born in June 1996, began his professional career at the young age of 17. The city of Den Bosch, commonly known as the hometown of featherweight champion Robin van Roosmalen, is where he hails from. He is a boxer. His age was an issue, and the kickboxing world frequently misjudged him before they realized what he was capable of doing. This is something that is already common knowledge. It's to his credit that the majority of his adversaries fought with a lot of ferocity and gave it their all until they were defeated. Despite the fact that the champion has been absent for some time, the champion's position has not changed. Very early on in his career, he quickly became the favorite of the fans because to his talents, flexibility, bravos, and visible strength. This happened very quickly. In spite of the fact that he was still fairly young, he earned the nickname the Destroyer, both in his personal life and in his professional life due to his ruthlessness and perfect competence. As a result of his record of having the most wins in the distance and accepting victory after his opponent's defeat, he soon advanced to the top of the Dutch domestic league, and then subsequently to the top of the premier worldwide organization. This was due to the fact that he accepted victory after his opponent's loss. Because of his rapid advancement within a very short period of time, in particular at the domestic league, which is well known for the high level of challenge it presents, he has earned a place among the respected in the martial arts. When he first signed on with Glory, he competed in the lightweight division. However, as his career progressed, he moved up in weight class and was eventually selected for the welterweight division. On February 11, 2023, the return of the Destroyer in kickboxing was eagerly anticipated by everyone, including champion fans and even his opponents, after an absence of 3 years. Nonetheless, things went from bad to worse when the magnificent year of his homecoming and taking over from Chris One as a catchweight turned out to be a bust instead of a catchweight. The authorities tracked him down as an active member engaging in fraudulent operations like drug trafficking, arms trafficking, and money laundering, and on January 19, 2023, they arrested him at his apartment in Den Bosch. This occurred when they located him as being a member of the criminal organization. His career, which had already been in jeopardy as a result of an excessive number of occurrences of a similar nature, was put in jeopardy when the authorities began to suspect him and arrested him during this time period. As was likely the case, this is not the first time that Jaraya has been the subject of a criminal investigation, but this ban has the potential to completely remove him from public view. According to the authorities, Jaraya's suspicion is founded on the fact that he has been on the wrong side of the law, as well as on the wrong side of a number of other criminals with whom he has been involved in conflicts over the years. On the other hand, it is a well-established truth that the testimonies provided by criminals should not be trusted completely. The allegations are currently being looked into by the police to see whether or not they are true. In the past, when the boxer had run afoul of the law, the punishment for his deeds appeared to be quite light, but it was inconvenient for him because he was a star. After he was reported to have been involved in a fight on 2 separate occasions, the judge gave him a sentence that included 2 months in jail in addition to a community service sentence of 140 hours. This sentence was imposed on Jaraya as a result of claims that she played a role in a brawl that occurred in court, as well as other recorded instances of violent behavior. In 2018, during the trial for the murder of a Dutch Moroccan citizen, he got into a brawl in the courtroom, which led to his being sentenced to community service as a result of the incident. Jaraya was arrested for his violent behavior after he was accused of beating up numerous people at a New Year's Eve party that was held in Brenda. His reaction when questioned about his role in the aggressive behavior was that he is a sportsman and he doesn't drink. It was the first and the last time I drank a few drinks, but I do not remember having hit so many people before. I think it was because I was so intoxicated. The Dutch police received a significant piece of information thanks to Muhammad Jarraya's extravagant lifestyle, particularly during the 3 years he spent away from kickboxing. Pictures of him hanging out with unidentified persons may be found on his social media pages, particularly with a man he jokingly refers to as Al Pacino. In addition to this, it was observed that he was in the company of a number of famous rappers and influencers while wearing very pricey designer clothing and a number of wristwatches worth millions of dollars each. Even his most devoted followers began to question how he could maintain such a rich lifestyle, given that he has not been active in the business sector for a considerable amount of time. His extravagant way of life caused many people to talk about him. It is possible that if he had not felt the need to publicize his unlawfully funded existence, it would have taken even more tears or decades before suspicions would have arisen and justice would have been served. If this is the case, justice would not have been served. It is almost ironic that his desire for attention was the first step in his inquiry into the matter. It is somewhat similar to when someone accidentally shoots themselves in the foot. Following a number of investigations and covert operations, it became abundantly evident that there was no legitimate way for Jaraya to be able to finance the lifestyle he maintained. It was his fight with crime bosses over a stolen quantity of cocaine that ultimately led to his capture by the authorities. This conflict was the impetus for his arrest. Throughout the course of the conflict, Jaraya has been the target of multiple assassination attempts and death threats on multiple occasions. These threats have also been directed towards his family. As a result of the conflict between the two groups, Jaraya's family's business, which used to be a butcher shop and was located on Kapelaan Koopmansplein in Den Bosch and was owned by his father, was attacked on 2 separate occasions. According to the findings of the inquiry, a hand grenade was thrown against the business door in July of 2021, causing damage to the property as well as several cars in the surrounding neighborhood. To our great good fortune, the effect of the attack did not result in the loss of any lives. Despite the fact that the shop had been sold and a new owner had taken possession of it, there was a subsequent assault on the butcher shop a few months or around half a year later. In order to provide evidence of the assault, 9 bullet holes were seen to have been blown through the doors of the store. It is possible that this was done in order to convey a message of blatantly malicious intent. If you are under the impression that everything is back to normal now that these 2 terrible death threats have passed, then you have never been more mistaken in your whole life. In the subsequent attempt on Jaraya's life, it was stated in plain language that we know where you have been and what you have been doing since the first attack. It was stated that a gymnasium on the Enden Quay in Den Bosch had suffered significant damage, and the cause of the damage was again determined to be the throwing of a hand grenade into the building. Jaraya fled to Dubai and tried to keep his head underwater until his capture, so this threat may have been enough to shake off the bad guy swagger. Jaraya was arrested after the event. Until the offenders are caught, a lot of this investigation's material will remain private. Jaraya was greatly looking forward to his return to the ring. "There was a lot going on in my life," he said during a Glory press conference just last week. "I struggled with injuries and my motivation, but sport is really in my blood, and I can't stop." According to reports, the fighter is suspected by the Dutch Public Prosecutor's Office of trafficking large quantities of cocaine. The Glory kickboxing talent has been held since January and is said to be in the milieu of tough guys and big money. In particular, the Justice Department relies on decrypted messages from the boxer's crypto phone, which mention trafficking in cocaine and expensive watches, among other things. According to his lawyer, not an ounce of drugs was found in the case, and only 1 Rolex was seized. "There are also no serious indications that Muhammad is into drugs," he said. According to him, the fact that Jaraya is a well-known boxer would also be a reason to release him. "All eyes are on him. Every move he makes is magnified. He just wants to train, and train again. He doesn't want his career to go out like a fizzle. This criminal case is the fight of his life for Muhammad," said attorney Jan Hein Kiepers. The kickboxer told during his first interim hearing via video link from the prison in Roermond, that he was going to lose his professional contract with boxing organization Glory, putting his entire career at risk. However, the court did not listen and decided that Jaraya should remain in prison, writes a Dutch newspaper. If you want to enjoy more criminal content, consider watching one of our other thrilling stories now on your screen.